A poor waitress calls an alpha CEO and says his son is unconscious on the street. Rain fell in sheets that night, cold, merciless, drumming against the cracked pavement of Hollow Street. The neon diner sign flickered behind her, casting a ghostly blue light over puddles that shimmered like broken glass. Aria Hale pulled her thin jacket tighter, her shoes soaked, her breath fogging in the air as thunder rolled overhead. She had just finished a 12-hour shift, her apron still stained with coffee and grease. The tip she'd earned barely filled her pocket, but then she heard it. A whimper. Soft, fragile, almost drowned by the storm. She turned, squinting through the rain, and froze. A small body lay on the curb. A boy, no older than 8, his skin pale and lips trembling. "Oh my God," she gasped, dropping her bag and rushing to him. His pulse was faint, his shirt torn, and a strange scent lingered in the air, metallic, wild, and unfamiliar. She shook him gently. "Hey, sweetheart, can you hear me?" No response. Panic clawed at her chest. She looked around. The streets were empty. She had no umbrella, no car, no one to call, except the phone clutched in the boy's hand. Its screen glowed faintly with a single contact name. D. Voss. Her fingers hesitated. She'd heard that name before. Damien Voss, the billionaire CEO of Voss Industries. A man people whispered about in the diner like he was more myth than human. Cold, untouchable, dangerous. Why would his name be on a child's phone? Aria's heart raced as thunder cracked again, closer this time. She knelt beside the boy, shielding him from the rain with her jacket. His eyelids fluttered weakly. "Hold on, baby," she whispered. Her hands shook as she dialed the number. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. Deep, sharp, commanding. "Who is this?" The sound of it made her throat tighten. I found a boy. He's lying on the street, and I think he's not moving." "Where?" the voice cut in. "Hollow Street, near the old diner." Silence. Then a single word, low, lethal, trembling with something primal. "Stay there." The line went dead. Aria's pulse thundered in her ears. She glanced down at the boy again. He was breathing, barely. She brushed wet hair from his forehead. "It's okay," she murmured. "Help's coming." But even as she said it, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just called someone. Or something. Minutes stretched like hours. The rain refused to stop. Aria's knees were numbed from kneeling, her hands trembling as she tried to keep the boy warm. Then, headlights. 4 black SUVs roared down the street, engines snarling like beasts. They skidded to a stop, inches from her, splashing water over her shoes. The doors opened in unison. Men in dark suits stepped out, their movements too sharp, too silent. She recognized power when she saw it, but this was something else. One of them sniffed the air and growled low under his breath. "He's here." Then she saw him, the man from the phone, Damien Voss. Even in the storm, his presence cut through everything. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black coat that shimmered with rain. His eyes, piercing gray with a faint golden ring, locked on her instantly. He didn't speak. He just strode forward, the air itself bending around him. When he reached the boy, the mask cracked. "Elias," he whispered, kneeling beside him. The boy's fingers twitched. The Alpha CEO's jaw clenched. "Who found him?" he demanded. Aria swallowed hard, her voice barely above the rain. I did. He was just lying here. I didn't know who to call, but your number was on his phone." Damien turned to her, and for a second, the full weight of his gaze hit her. Sharp, cold, assessing. But behind it, there was something raw. Fear. "You touched him?" he asked quietly. Yes, to check if he was breathing." His expression darkened. "He's a Voss. You shouldn't have touched him."
The words cut deeper than he intended, and her face fell. "I was just trying to help." He froze. Something in her voice, that tremor of genuine care, made him pause. The scent hit him then. Faint, buried under rain and fear, unmistakable. Wolf. His pulse spiked. "What are you?" he murmured under his breath. Before she could respond, the boy stirred. "Dad," he whispered weakly. Damien leaned close, gripping his son's hand. "I'm here." Arya smiled faintly, relief washing over her. "He's okay," she whispered. But when Damien turned to her again, his eyes glowed faintly gold, not with gratitude, but with confusion. "Who are you? And why does my son smell like you?" The rain slowed to a drizzle. The men around them shifted nervously, waiting for orders. Arya stared at him, trembling. "Smell like me? What does that even mean?" Damien rose to his full height, his shadow swallowing hers. "Take the boy to the car," he commanded. 2 guards lifted Elias gently, carrying him away. Then Damien stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low growl. "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't even exist." He flinched, confusion flashing across his face. "What are you talking about?" "Humans don't leave their scent on wolves," he said darkly, "unless there's something else." She backed away, shaking her head. "You're insane." But as the lightning split the sky again, the mark on her wrist, the one she'd never noticed before, glowed faintly under the rain. Damien froze. His breath hitched. "Impossible," he whispered. The others stopped moving, sensing the change in him. His eyes burned gold. "Get her in the car, now." "Wait, what?" she shouted, as hands grabbed her arms. "You can't just—" "You called me," he said coldly, stepping into the shadows of the storm. "Now you'll answer for it." The rain returned harder than before, as if the heavens themselves knew that one call had awakened something that should have stayed buried. "The one who saved your son," she snapped. "You're welcome, by the way." His expression didn't change. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, like a predator circling prey. "You touched him," he said again, low and calm. "He smelled like you. That shouldn't be possible." She stared at him, bewildered. "I don't know what you're talking about. I was walking home from work. I found a kid lying in the street. I called for help. That's it." Damien's jaw tightened. "No, that's not it." He moved closer until she could feel the heat radiating off him. "My son doesn't let anyone near him. He hasn't since the incident." "What incident?" she asked softly. His eyes flickered. "That's none of your concern." "Then let me go." "I can't." The words came out like a growl. Her stomach dropped. "Why not?" He exhaled through his nose, fighting the storm inside him. "Because I don't know what you are." The air between them thickened. She wanted to scream, to fight, to run, but part of her couldn't look away. There was something in his gaze that wasn't just power. It was pain. He paced to the window, staring out over a skyline bathed in gray morning light. "You live alone?" "Yes," she said cautiously. "No family?" "None that care." His voice softened, but not with sympathy, with calculation. "You're not registered in any city pack. No known ties to any bloodline." "I'm not part of any pack," she repeated, confused. "I'm a human." He turned, his gaze sharp. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true," she shouted. "Look at me. I'm a waitress, not whatever you are." For the first time, something flickered across his face. Guilt? No. Recognition. He stepped closer, slowly. "When my Luna died," he said quietly, "the mark she left burned away. No one's scent ever triggered it until last night." "You're what?" "My mate," he said quietly. "The only one the moon chose for me." Arya's chest tightened. "And you think that's me?" He looked at her long and hard. I don't believe in coincidences. Her laugh was hollow. You think the moon just dropped me on the sidewalk for you to claim? His answer was a whisper. Maybe it did. Before she could respond, the door burst open. A man in a suit entered, his scent sharp like iron. Alpha, the boy's awake. Damien's demeanor shifted instantly, from curiosity to control. Stay here, he ordered Arya. Don't move. You can't just lock me up. Watch me, he said, and left. The door was sealed with a hiss. She ran to it, pounding on the glass. Hey, you can't! But her voice faltered. Through the narrow window, she caught a glimpse of something down the hall. A shadow. No. A shape. A figure moving on all fours faster than any human should be. The sound? Claws scraping marble. She stumbled back, breathing hard. Her rational mind screamed this wasn't real, but her heart knew better. Wolves. Real ones. Inside a mansion. The same creatures from the street. She turned and caught her reflection in a mirror. Pale, trembling. But then her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Silver. She froze. What's happening to me? She whispered. Outside, the sound of wolves howling echoed through the hall, answering a call she didn't know she'd made. Minutes later, Damien returned. His shirt splattered with blood, though his face betrayed no emotion. He's stable, he shortly said. Your son? She asked, voice shaking. Yes. He asked for you. The words stunned her. Me? You're the only person he spoke to since his mother died. Arya's breath caught. Why? That's what I intend to find out. He studied her face, every line, every flicker of confusion. I can't sense your scent fully, he murmured. It's buried under something human. But my instincts, he stopped himself. They're never wrong. She crossed her arms. And what do your instincts say? His gaze locked with hers, sharp and electric. You're not a waitress, he said softly. You're a secret the moon kept for me. She backed away, pulse hammering. You're insane. Maybe I am, he said, stepping closer, his eyes glowing gold again. But when the moon rises tonight, we'll both know the truth. Outside, thunder rolled once more, not from the sky, but from the wolves below the mansion, their howls rising like a prophecy.
The mansion's east wing was quieter than the rest, too quiet. Arya followed Damien down the hall, her bare feet echoing on the marble floor. Every few steps, she caught a scent, pine, steel, something faintly electric in the air. The deeper they went, the heavier it felt, like the air itself was alive. Damien pushed open a massive wooden door, revealing a dimly lit room. The boy lay on a bed too large for his small frame, pale but breathing steadily. His chest rose and fell in rhythm, his tiny fingers clutching a silver wolf pendant. Arya hesitated at the doorway, unsure if she should step closer. He's been like this since the attack, Damien said, voice low. But when you touched him, he stabilized. She frowned. That doesn't make sense. Nothing about you makes sense. He turned to her then, his eyes softening briefly. Elias hasn't spoken to anyone in 3 years, not even me. Arya's gaze drifted to the boy's face. He's beautiful, she whispered. Damien nodded once, the faintest flicker of pride breaking through his guarded expression. He's my son, my heir. Then softer, the last piece of her I had left. Arya moved closer, her instinct overpowering her fear. She knelt beside the bed and brushed a strand of hair from Elias's forehead. The moment her skin touched his, the room shifted, air crackling, lights flickering. The boy's breathing deepened, his fingers twitching. Elias, she whispered. His eyelids fluttered. For the first time since the accident, the boy stirred, his small hand reaching toward her. Mom? The single word shattered the silence. Damien froze. Every guard in the hallway turned toward the room. Arya's breath caught. No, sweetheart, I'm not.
"Mom," he repeated, stronger this time. "You came back." Damien's eyes burned gold. "Enough." His voice cracked like a whip, full of restrained fury and something else. Grief. Elias blinked up at him, confused. "Dad?" "Rest," Damien said, his tone trembling. The boy obeyed, falling back asleep instantly. Arya rose slowly, heart pounding. He called me his mother." "Don't," Damien snapped. "Don't say that word." "He recognized me." "He's confused." "Or maybe he remembers something you don't," she shot back. His jaw clenched. "You don't understand what you've just done." He turned away from her, pacing to the window where the morning light cut across his face. 3 years ago, he began, voice hoarse. "A rival pack attacked us. They wanted the Luna's blood, said it carried a power even the moon feared. She died protecting our son." Arya's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." He looked over his shoulder. Her name was Celine. She was everything. His eyes softened briefly before hardening again. "You smell like her." Arya took a step back. "That's insane." "Is it?" He crossed the room in 2 strides, his presence overwhelming. The same mark, the same eyes when the moonlight hits. "You think I don't notice?" "I don't even know what you're talking about," she shouted. "I work in a diner. I have nothing." "You have something," he said quietly, "and I'll find out what it is. And if you're wrong, then I'll let you go. And if you're right," his gaze held hers, steady, dangerous, "then you were never meant to be free." The tension hung between them like static. She turned away, shaking. "I want to see him again." "Why?" "Because he needs me. He needs protection. He needs answers." "Then let me help," she pleaded. "Do you think I wanted this? I just wanted to go home." His voice softened for the first time. "You can't go home, Arya. Not yet." "Why?" "Because you crossed into our world, and once that happens, the moon marks you." He stepped closer, close enough for her to feel his breath. "Tell me the truth. Has anything strange happened to you lately?" She hesitated. "Sometimes I hear things. Wolves howling when there aren't any. Dreams that feel real. A voice calling my name." "What voice?" he demanded. "A woman's," she whispered. "She says it's not over." Damien froze, his expression unreadable. "You need to rest," he said finally, but his voice trembled, not with command, but with fear. Later that night, Arya sat by the window of her locked room, watching the forest sway under the moonlight. Somewhere below, wolves howled, long, mournful cries that sent chills down her spine. Her reflection in the glass seemed wrong. Her eyes caught the light differently, glowing faintly silver. "What are you?" she whispered to herself. Then, a knock at the door. "Come in," she said hesitantly. The door opened slowly, revealing Elias. "Hey," she whispered, kneeling. "You should be in bed." "I couldn't sleep," he murmured, rubbing his eyes. "When you're here, the house feels safe." Her throat tightened. "It's just a dream, sweetheart." "Dreams come from the moon," he said sleepily. "That's what Dad says." Before she could answer, he hugged her, small arms wrapping around her neck. For a heartbeat, everything else vanished. Warmth, peace, a pulse deep within her chest, answering something in his. And when she looked up, Damien stood in the doorway, watching them both. His eyes glowed gold again, but this time not from anger, from fear of what he was starting to feel. By morning, the mansion no longer felt like a home. It felt like a fortress. Arya was escorted downstairs by 2 silent guards dressed in black, their eyes unnervingly sharp. She noticed how they moved, too smooth, too fast. They weren't human. The grand dining hall looked like something out of a movie. chandeliers of silver glass, walls lined with paintings of full moons and battles. At the far end sat Damien Voss, now in a crisp black suit, every trace of the storm replaced by ruthless control. He was reading a document, a cup of coffee untouched beside him. When his gaze lifted, she froze. That same presence, magnetic, dangerous, beautiful, filled the air. "Sit," he said simply. She obeyed without realizing why. "You're in my home, Miss Hale. You've seen my son. You've seen what most humans never do." His tone was calm, but it was the calm of someone who could shatter the world if he wished. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," she said softly. "I just want to go back to my life." His lips twitched, almost a smile. "And pretend none of this exists. I admire the wishful thinking." He leaned forward. "But once the moon sees you, there's no going back." A servant brought her breakfast, but the smell hit her wrong. Raw meat. I can't eat this," she said, pushing it away. Damien's eyes flicked to the plate, then to her. "Interesting," he murmured. "You smell human, yet your senses say otherwise." She frowned. "You think I'm some kind of monster?" "Monster?" he chuckled low. "No, monsters can be controlled. I'm not sure yet." She glared at him. "You talk like you own the world." "I do," he said simply, and she realized he wasn't joking. Voss Industries isn't just a company, Miss Hale. It's a dynasty, and every dynasty has its predators. He stood, buttoning his jacket, his movements smooth as liquid powder. "I have meetings today. You'll stay here until I decide what to do with you." "I'm not your prisoner," she snapped. He paused by the doorway, glancing back at her. "That depends," he said, voice like silk over steel, "on whether you're prey or something else." When he was gone, the servants avoided her. Every time she moved, they stiffened. She wandered the halls, finding portraits of wolves crowned in gold, women with glowing eyes, battlefields under crimson moons. The deeper she went, the stranger it got. Doors that locked themselves, mirrors that rippled when she passed. Finally, she reached the balcony overlooking the courtyard. Below, dozens of men trained shirtless, their bodies marked with symbols glowing faintly under sunlight. They moved like soldiers, no, like predators, in perfect sync. At the center stood Damien. No suit now, only strength and fury. He barked a command, and they dropped to their knees in unison. The sight was terrifying, yet beautiful, the alpha in his element. When he glanced up, as if sensing her, their eyes met across the courtyard. For a moment, the noise faded, the world shrinking to just them. Then his lips curved faintly. Not a smile, a warning. That night, Arya couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, the mix of man and beast behind those gray gold eyes. She tried the door again, locked. "Of course," she muttered. Then, from the corner of her eye, movement, a shadow crossing her window. She turned, heart racing. "Hello?" Nothing. But then a voice whispered through her mind, soft, familiar. "He's not what he seems." She spun around. The room was empty. Her breath quickened. "Who's there?" The voice again. "Run before the next moon, or you'll be claimed." She stumbled back, clutching her chest. "Claimed by who?" she whispered. Silence. Then the faint sound of a wolf howling in the distance, deep, mournful, and close. She didn't realize she was crying until she tasted salt. And in that moment, for the first time, she didn't fear Damien Voss. She feared herself. The next morning, she was led to a massive boardroom overlooking the city. Dozens of men in suits sat around a glass table, their presence commanding, but their scents told her they weren't human. Damien stood at the head of the table, sharp and composed. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice cutting through the room, "our borders were breached last night. A human saw what she shouldn't have." He glanced at her, deliberate. The others turned to stare. "You brought her here?" one hissed. "The law forbids it." The law serves me, Damien replied, and she saved my son. At what cost? Another growled. She carries something ancient. She carries what I decide, Damien said, his voice lowering. Silence fell instantly. He turned to Arya, his tone unreadable. Miss Hale, you're about to learn something very few survive knowing. He stepped closer, his aura heavy with dominance. You didn't find my son by chance. The moon led you to him. And now, he paused, his eyes flashing gold again. It's leading you to me.
The meeting ended in whispers. Wolves scattered, their eyes darting between Arya and Damien like they'd seen a ghost. The moment the door shut, the Alpha turned to her. Come with me. His voice left no room for argument. They walked in silence through long corridors of glass and marble until they reached a private study, the only room that felt alive. Warm light, a fire crackling, and the faint scent of pine and rain. Damien stopped near the fireplace, hands in his pockets. Show me your wrist. She blinked. What? The one that glowed. I told you, I don't. Show me. His tone dropped, deep and resonant. Alpha command. Against her will, she raised her hand. The skin beneath her sleeve shimmered faintly, light rippling like water beneath the surface. She gasped. What is that? Damien stepped closer, eyes locked on the light. It's impossible. So stop saying it, she snapped, panic creeping into her voice. What's happening to me? He exhaled slowly. That mark belongs to the Lunar line. It appears only once every 100 years, when the moon chooses a new queen. A queen? She repeated, incredulous. Do I look like royalty to you? It's not about blood, he said, voice calm but reverent. It's about destiny, power. The Lunar spirit chooses who carries it. It's been silent since my wife died. Arya stepped back, shaking her head. No, that's not me. I'm nobody. I work at a diner. The moon doesn't care where you work, he said quietly. It chooses who it wants. Then it made a mistake, she whispered. He studied her face. The moon doesn't make mistakes. Her pulse pounded in her ears. The glow grew brighter, spreading up her arm in delicate silver tendrils. The mark pulsed like a heartbeat. It's burning, she gasped, gripping her wrist. Damien grabbed her hand gently but firmly, his touch sending a shock through her entire body. The light steadied instantly. Her breathing slowed. He looked up, eyes wide. It reacts to me. Let go, she whispered. I can't. Their gazes locked, something ancient humming between them, a force neither could name but both could feel. The air thickened, the scent of pine and smoke heavy. Damien's voice dropped to a whisper. You feel it too. No, she lied. He tilted his head, a faint, dangerous smile tugging at his lips. You're trembling. Because you're standing too close. Because your wolf is waking. The words froze her. My what? You think humans glow like that? You think a scent like yours belongs to mortals? He lifted her hand again, the glow reflecting in his eyes. You smell like stormlight, like the first rain after drought. I thought I'd forgotten that scent. His voice faltered on the last word, grief bleeding through the cracks. Your wife's? She asked softly. He nodded once. Celine. And you think I'm her? No. And for the first time, she heard the truth in his voice. I think you're what comes after her. Her throat tightened. That's insane. So was finding you.
He turned away then, his composure returning like armor. You should rest. The mark will change again by nightfall. He left her standing there, heart racing, wrist still glowing. When the door closed, she collapsed into the nearest chair, clutching her arm. The light dimmed slowly, but its echo remained, a pulse deep beneath her skin, whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. Her reflection in the window shimmered again, faint silver eyes staring back. No, she whispered. No, no, no. The voice from the night before returned, clearer this time. The mark remembers what the soul forgets. She covered her ears. Leave me alone. You were born under the blood moon, it said. The alpha's bond is yours to command. The room temperature dropped. Her breath fogged the glass. A vision flickered. A woman bathed in moonlight, standing beside a man with eyes like fire. Celine. The voice softened. He found you again. Don't let him forget. Then silence. Ariel fell to her knees, shaking. She didn't see Damien in the hall, watching through the crack in the door, his expression torn between awe and fear. That night, as the moon climbed high, Arya couldn't fight the pull. She wandered to the balcony, the same one overlooking the forest. The mark flared again, glowing brighter than ever. She lifted her wrist toward the moon, and for a moment the light answered, beams bending, silver lines tracing her veins. Then behind her, footsteps. Damien. He said nothing, only watched. The wind tangled her hair, her skin shimmering. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Neither should you, he replied. Their eyes met, his glowing gold, hers silver. The night held its breath. What happens now? She asked. Now, he said, stepping closer, his voice a mix of reverence and regret. We see if the moon made a mistake or gave me back what it took. The mark between them pulsed once, silver to gold, before the world fell utterly silent.
The next morning, the mansion buzzed with whispers. Servants avoided her eyes. Guards spoke in low tones. Even the air seemed tense, thick with the scent of fear and something unspoken. Arya sat in the garden, sunlight touching her skin, yet her heart felt cold. She couldn't stop staring at the faint glow beneath her wrist. It hadn't faded. Every beat of her pulse carried the mark's light, soft but constant, a reminder she didn't ask for. Behind her, footsteps approached, measured, commanding. Damien. You didn't sleep, he said, stopping a few feet away. Neither did you, she replied quietly. His eyes softened. You're not wrong. He handed her a file, thick, worn, marked with a Voss Industries seal. I had my men look into you. Her head snapped up. You what? I needed answers. And you don't exist. The words landed like thunder. She blinked. What? He opened the file. No birth records, no parents, no school. The first time your name appears anywhere is 3 years ago, the same year my Luna died. Her blood ran cold. That's impossible. I grew up in foster care. There must be... I checked every system, he interrupted. Every human database. You were wiped clean. Wiped? Deleted, he said flatly, like someone wanted to erase you. She shook her head. Why would anyone do that? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned the file around and pointed to a photo clipped inside, a grainy image of a hospital room. In it, a woman lay unconscious, a faint silver mark glowing on her arm. Arya's breath caught. It was her. That's me. That's from 3 years ago, Damien said. You were found outside the ruins of the Blood Moon Temple, unconscious, with no memory. I've never... She stopped. A flash. Moonlight.
Screams. A woman's voice calling her name. Her head throbbed. She pressed her palms against her temples. "Stop," she gasped. "Please stop." Damien caught her before she fell. "What did you see?" "I don't know," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "But it felt real." "It was," he said quietly. "You're tied to that night. The night everything changed." He led her inside to his office, all glass and steel, overlooking the city. The Blood Moon Temple was where the Luna bloodline began. The council destroyed it when they feared its power. My wife died trying to protect what was left of it. He turned to her. "You were there." "I can't be." "You were." He placed a silver pendant on the desk, the same symbol carved into the temple rulings. She stared at it, trembling. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because it was found with you." She reached for it, but the moment her fingers brushed the metal, her mark flared, blinding light filling the room. Damien shielded his eyes. When it faded, the pendant had fused to her skin, the chain disappearing, the mark glowing brighter than ever. She stared in horror. "What's happening to me?" He met her gaze, voice barely a whisper. "The blood of the Luna runs in you." "That's not possible." "It's not only possible," he said grimly. "It's prophecy." He pulled a scroll from a locked drawer, unrolling it carefully. Ancient script lined the parchment, moon symbols, claws, and stars. "The prophecy of the silver rebirth," he said. "It speaks of a woman who carries the last light of the moon. When her mark awakens, the Alpha's fate is sealed." "Sealed?" "Bound," he said. "Body, soul, power. The Alpha and the Luna were born as one." Arya took a step back. No, I can't." "You already are," he said softly. "Every time I'm near you, the bond grows stronger. My instincts, they don't lie." "Then your instincts are wrong," she cried. "I don't want to be tied to you. I don't want this." "Neither did I," he said sharply, his composure breaking for the first time. The air thickened, the scent of his anger sharp and wild. She trembled under his stare, torn between fear and something deeper, something that felt like recognition. "What if fate's wrong?" she whispered. He stepped closer, voice low, dangerous. "Then we both burn." Silence stretched between them, charged and fragile. Then, from somewhere deep in the mansion, a howl split the air, long, desperate, and unlike any Arya had ever heard before. Damien stiffened. "They found us." "Who?" she asked, panic rising. "The ones who destroyed the temple," he said, eyes flashing gold. "They want what's in your blood." "My blood?" "It's the key to the Luna's resurrection and to the Alpha's downfall." He grabbed her wrist. "We need to move, now." She resisted. "I don't understand." "You don't have to," he said, pulling her toward the door. "Just stay close." "Why are you helping me?" she shouted. He paused, turning back. "Because the night my wife died," she whispered one last thing before the light took her. He looked straight into her eyes. She said, "When the moon chooses again, protect her, even from yourself." The sound of claws scraped against the walls outside. The enemy had arrived. That evening, the mansion glowed with golden light. Crystal chandeliers hung above a long oak table set with silver cutlery, white candles, and wine dark as blood. Arya stood at the top of the stairs, her borrowed black dress clinging softly to her frame. It was elegant, too elegant for a girl who used to scrape tips at a diner. Damien waited at the foot of the stairs, dressed in charcoal and command. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes, you do," he replied. "If the council suspects what you are, they'll kill you. If they believe you're human, they might just let you live." His gaze softened. "Stay near me, and don't look anyone in the eyes." "Why not?" "Because wolves see truth through fear." She swallowed hard, nodding. "What happens if I mess up?" His lips curved faintly. "Then I'll lie and kill whoever calls you out." She wasn't sure if that was meant to comfort her, but when he offered his arm, she took it.
The ballroom doors opened and every head turned toward them. The table was surrounded by power, men and women dressed in luxury, their smiles sharp, their movements too controlled. They were predators disguised in silk and suits. Damien's beta, Lucien, greeted them with a nod that carried equal parts respect and warning. "Alpha," he said, "the council appreciates your hospitality." "I'm not hosting the council," Damien said coolly. "Just dinner." "With a human?" one of the women asked, her tone slicing through the air. "Unusual choice for an alpha." "Her name is Aria Hale," Damien said, pulling out a chair for her. "She saved my son." The words made the room go still. A few wolves sniffed the air subtly, their eyes narrowing. Aria sat, keeping her gaze low. She could feel their attention, cold, assessing, predatory. "A brave thing," another said smoothly, "but dangerous. A human seeing what shouldn't be seen." She saw nothing, and if she had, she'd be smart enough to forget. His tone was a warning cloaked in civility. Aria's heart pounded as she forced a smile, pretending to belong in a world that would tear her apart if they knew the truth. Dinner began. Silverware clinked softly against fine china, but beneath the surface, tension simmered. Aria tried to focus on her plate, but her senses were heightened. The smell of meat too strong, the sound of heartbeats too loud. It was as if her body was tuning into something deeper, something wild. Across the table, Lucien's gaze lingered on her. "She doesn't seem afraid," he remarked. Most humans tremble when surrounded by wolves. Damien's hand brushed hers under the table, a silent warning to stay calm. "Maybe she doesn't know what we are," another said with a smirk. Aria forced a laugh. "I'm a waitress. I've seen worse manners." A ripple of surprise went through the table, then a few laughs. Even Damien's lips twitched faintly, though his eyes stayed watchful. "She's bold," Lucien said. "You like that?" "I like honesty and loyalty." "Do you think she's capable of either?" Lucien pressed. Damien leaned back, eyes never leaving Aria. "I think she's already proven she is." The table fell silent. For the first time, she felt his words were not just protection, they were truth. Midway through dinner, the lights flickered. A draft swept through the hall, candles dancing. Then a voice, soft, mocking, echoed from the shadows. How touching. The mighty alpha dining with his pet. Every wolf at the table tensed. From the darkened archway stepped a tall man with silver hair and eyes that gleamed like frost. "Ronan," Damien growled, "you weren't invited." "I know I never wait for invitations," Ronan said, smiling faintly, "and this must be the girl who's turned your counsel against you." "Leave," Damien ordered, "or I'll remove your tongue before dessert." "Careful, Alpha," Ronan purred. "You're losing control." "The mark on her hand isn't fading, is it?" Aria froze. The room seemed to tilt. "How do you know about that?" she whispered. Ronan chuckled darkly. "Because it's not the first time the moon's cursed a mortal." He looked directly at her. "And because you're not the first to bear it." Damien lunged across the table. Too late. Ronan was gone, his laughter echoing through the hall. The room erupted, wolves snarled, chairs crashed, and Aria stood in shock as Damien's command voice thundered through the chaos. "Enough!" Silence slammed down like a physical force. His chest heaved,
eyes glowing gold. No one touches her. No one questions her again. Slowly the others dispersed, their anger simmering under the surface. When the hall finally cleared, only Damien and Aria remained. She looked at him, trembling. Who was that? Ronan Black, former Alpha, exiled for treason. He knew about my mark. He knows too much. He turned toward her, his expression softening, though his voice stayed heavy. He's dangerous, Aria. If he comes near you again, you'll kill him? No, Damien said, stepping closer. I'll kill anyone who tries to take you from me. For the first time, she didn't know whether to be afraid or to believe him.
The night after the attack was eerily quiet. The rain had stopped, but the smell of smoke lingered in the air. Aria stood by the window of her new room, the one Damien had insisted she use, staring at the moonlight spilling over the forest. Down below, guards patrolled the grounds, their shadows moving like restless ghosts. Behind her, a knock. "It's open," she said softly. Damien stepped in, no suit this time, just a black shirt rolled up to his elbows, revealing the mark of his rank etched on his skin. His presence filled the room effortlessly, but there was something different tonight, softer. He walked closer and placed a small silver bracelet on the table beside her. "Protection charm," he said. "It reacts to blood magic." "You think I'm in danger?" "I know you are." She traced the bracelet with her fingers. "You've been quiet since last night," she whispered. "You didn't tell me who those people were." "Because knowing will make you a target," he said. "But you deserve to know why they're hunting you." He turned away from her, staring at the reflection of the moon in the glass. "My son's accident wasn't random," he said quietly. "It was a warning." Aria froze. "A warning?" "They wanted me to step down as Alpha, to hand over my power to the council. When I refused, they went after the only thing that could break me." His jaw tightened. "But they underestimated you." She frowned. "Me?" "You weren't supposed to find him," he said. "And when you did, you didn't call an ambulance. You called me." His gaze shifted to her, intense and unreadable. "Do you know what that means, Aria?" "That I panicked," she said, forcing a smile. "That you felt the bond," he corrected. "Instinct, not logic." She shook her head. "No, I just wanted to help a child." "You helped my heir, and that changes everything." His tone darkened. "In this world, saving an Alpha's blood ties you to his fate. You're part of this war now, whether you want it or not." Aria backed away, shaking her head. "No, I didn't sign up for this." "Neither did I," he said, voice rough. "But the moment you touched him, the moon marked you again." She lifted her wrist instinctively, the silver glow still faint beneath her skin. "I don't understand." "You're bound to my bloodline now. If they can't kill me, they'll come for you or him." "Then what are we supposed to do?" "Stay close to me," he said, stepping forward, his scent of cedar and fire surrounding her. "I'll protect you." "You can't promise that." "I just did." His voice softened. "I failed once. I won't fail again." The emotion in his tone caught her off guard, raw and human. She whispered, "You're talking about your wife." He nodded, eyes heavy with memory. "Celine was light, but I was too dark to hold it. I thought I'd buried that part of me." His gaze fell on her glowing wrist. "And then you showed up, proving fate never buries anything for long." Silence stretched between them. The only sound was the rain dripping from the eaves outside. "Why me?" she finally asked. "Why would the moon choose someone like me?" "Because the moon doesn't care about bloodlines or titles. It chooses hearts that still believe."
Believe in what? Redemption, he said. Forgiveness. Second chances. He hesitated before continuing. Arya, the prophecy said the Lunar reborn would come from the ashes, human-born, marked by loss, and capable of binding the Alpha's curse. Curse? She echoed. Every Alpha carries darkness, he said quietly. Mine killed the woman I loved. Her heart ached at the pain in his voice. You didn't. I did. Not with claws, but with pride. I thought power meant control. It doesn't. It means sacrifice. He turned to her fully then, the firelight catching the gold in his eyes. Don't let the same curse take you, Arya. Promise me that. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. I can't promise something I don't understand. He stepped closer, and this time she didn't move away. His hand brushed her cheek, slow and deliberate, the touch of a man fighting himself. Then promise you'll stay, he said. Her breath hitched. Why? Because if you leave, he said, his voice breaking, I won't be able to stop them. And I don't want to lose you too. His confession hung between them. Fragile, dangerous, real. Arya's heart pounded in her chest. For a second, she saw not the Alpha, not the CEO, but the man beneath the power, haunted, exhausted, and desperately holding on. She nodded slowly. I'll stay, she whispered. He exhaled like a man who'd been holding his breath for years. But outside, under the cloak of rain and night, a shadow watched from the tree line, eyes glowing red, lips curling into a grin. Let him protect her. The moon's mark will be his undoing, the voice hissed.
The night sky bled red. Clouds moved like smoke, and the air felt too heavy to breathe. Arya awoke to the sound of howling, not one wolf, but hundreds. The entire forest seemed alive, restless under the light of the blood moon. Her mark pulsed so violently it hurt, the silver glow now threaded with crimson. She stumbled to the balcony, clutching her arm as the air shimmered around her. The moon hung low, massive, almost alive, its light burning through the mist. Behind her, the door burst open. Damien stormed in, eyes already glowing gold. You feel it too, he said, breathless. She nodded, trembling. It won't stop. It's like it's inside me. It is inside you, he said. The blood moon awakens the Luna spirit. It's calling you. Calling me for what? She gasped. To finish what was started, he replied grimly. He moved toward her, every step, slow, deliberate. If you lose control now, the entire pack will sense it. They'll come for you, and they'll kill anyone who stands between you and the prophecy. A loud crack split the air. Lightning slashed across the horizon. The wind howled, carrying whispers that weren't human. Arya dropped to her knees, clutching her head. Make it stop, she cried. Damien knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. Listen to my voice, he commanded. Focus on me. I can't. You can. His voice deepened, the alpha command lacing every syllable. Breathe, Arya. She gasped, inhaling sharply, grounding herself in the scent of him. Pine, smoke, and something darker, magnetic. Slowly the noise faded. The whispers softened. But the mark burned brighter. It wants me to do something, she whispered. It's showing me things. What things? A woman, standing in fire, wolves bowing to her. You, beside her. Damien's eyes darkened. Celine, he muttered. The last Luna. She's calling to you through the bond. Arya snapped up. Why? She's dead. Because her spirit never left, he said quietly. And tonight, the moon remembers everything it lost. The lights in the mansion flickered and died, every candle snuffed out in unison. From the forest came a growl, deep, ancient, echoing through the walls. Damien's chest rose, his body shifting slightly, veins of gold running across his skin. They're here, he said. Who? Arya whispered. The Shadow Wolves, Ronan's pack.
She backed away from the balcony. What do they want? You, he said simply. Your blood completes the prophecy. If they take you, the council wins. Then go, she said desperately. Take your son and go. I'll distract them. His expression hardened. Don't you dare say that again. He moved closer, his wolf surfacing. I'm not running from fate, not this time. You can't fight all of them, she whispered. Watch me. His voice was calm, but his eyes glowed with lethal promise. You're under my protection, Arya Hale. As Alpha, I swear it on the moon. The air shimmered, his vow binding them both in unseen fire. The walls shook, claws scraped against the doors. Shadows moved beyond the windows, their shapes monstrous under the bloodlight. Damien shifted halfway, his eyes pure gold, his voice layered with a growl. Stay behind me. The first wolf lunged through the glass, black fur, red eyes, teeth bared. Damien caught it mid-air and slammed it into the marble floor. Blood sprayed. Another followed, then another. Arya screamed as shards flew past her face. Instinctively, she raised her hands and light burst from her palms. Silver fire exploded across the room, hurling the attackers backward. The air crackled with energy. Damien froze, staring at her, chest heaving. What did you just do? I don't know, she stammered. Her hands still glowed, faint tendrils of smoke rising from her fingertips. It felt like the moon was inside me. He stepped toward her, eyes wide. The Luna's power, you've awakened it. But I don't know how to control it. Then I'll teach you. And when his hand touched hers, the fire didn't burn him. It bent to him. Together they stood in the center of the wrecked hall, surrounded by broken glass and dying shadows. The last wolf fled into the forest, howling as the others followed. Arya's body trembled with exhaustion, her eyes still faintly silver. Damien brushed her hair from her face, voice low and reverent. You just saved us. No, she whispered. You did. He shook his head. No, Arya, you saved me. The moonlight poured through the broken window, bathing them both in pale red glow. For a moment it felt like time stopped. The storm, the fear, the prophecy, all held still in that fragile silence. Then the mark on her wrist shifted, the silver now streaked with red. What's happening to it? She whispered. Damien's jaw clenched. The blood moon isn't done. This is only the first warning. Warning for what? For what comes next, he said, eyes darkening. The moon doesn't just choose, it tests. And somewhere deep in the forest, Ronan smiled at the sky. The game has begun.
By dawn, the mansion was silent again, but the peace was fragile, like glass over fire. The morning sun rose behind steel towers as Damien entered the Voss Industries boardroom. He was no longer the wolf drenched in blood and moonlight. He was the CEO again. Perfect suit, cold face, iron voice. Yet beneath the surface, the beast waited. The men and women seated around the mahogany table were not just executives, they were wolves, loyal to him once, but their eyes now shifted with doubt. Gentlemen, Damien began, voice echoing through the room. The attacks on my territory were coordinated. Someone inside gave them access. The silence was heavy. Then Lucien, his beta, leaned forward. Maybe the council was right. You've let your emotions cloud your judgment. Speak carefully, Damien warned. You're suggesting betrayal. I'm suggesting weakness, Lucien said coldly. You're hiding a human in your home. The pack has seen her. They're asking questions. Damien's eyes flashed gold for a second before dimming again. My personal life is not up for discussion. It is, Lucien said, when it risks all of ours. Every word was a knife. Damien leaned back, studying the faces before him, men he'd built empires with, now turning into wolves of opportunity. You've all forgotten who you serve, he said quietly. I gave you power, protection, and territory, and now, when the moon tests us, you bite the hand that feeds. One of the elders cleared his throat. With respect, Alpha, the moon tests you,
not us. And lately, you've failed." The words hung in the air like poison. The beast inside Damien stirred, claws under skin, fangs pressing against restraint. "Careful," he growled, voice deepening. But Lucien stood, meeting his gaze unflinching. "They're afraid, Damien. We all are. You brought the prophecy back into our world, and you did it for a human woman." "She's not human," he said quietly. The room fell dead still. "What did you say?" Lucien asked. "You heard me. She's the Luna reborn." Murmurs erupted, chairs scraping. "That's impossible," one spat. "It's her," Damien snapped. "I saw it with my own eyes." "Then she's a threat," Lucien said. "To you, to us, to everything we've built." Damien slammed his hand on the table, splitting the wood clean down the middle. Paper scattered, coffee spilled, fear rippled. "She's under my protection," he growled. "Anyone who touches her dies." The air vibrated with dominance, forcing every wolf in the room to lower their eyes, all except Lucien. "You can't protect her forever," he said quietly. "When the council finds out, they'll demand her blood." "Let them come," Damien said. "I'll give them mine first." Lucien stared at him, something unreadable flickering behind his eyes. "You'd burn the kingdom for her?" "If I must." Lucien's lips curved in something between respect and pity. "Then you've already lost." He turned and left, the others following silently, their loyalty now uncertain. When the doors shut, Damien stood alone, the scent of betrayal thick in the air. He looked out at the city below, the empire he'd built, and for the first time, it felt like a cage. "Let them plot," he murmured to himself. "They'll learn what happens when you corner a wolf." Meanwhile, Arya sat in the garden, unaware of the storm building above her. The morning light softened her features, but her wrist still glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with something ancient. The boy, little Adrian, ran to her, clutching a drawing. "Look," he said proudly, "it's you and Daddy." She smiled, tears pricking her eyes. The child's innocence was a balm she didn't know she needed. "You're quite the artist," she whispered, ruffling his hair. "He says you make the bad dreams go away. Do you?" She froze. "What do you mean?" "When you're near, the voices stop." He pointed at his chest. "Right here." Her breath caught. Voices. She'd heard them too. The whispers of the moon, the echo of forgotten lives. Before she could ask more, the sound of footsteps made her turn. Damien stood there, exhaustion etched across his face. "Pack meeting?" she asked softly. "War meeting," he corrected. She frowned. "And?" "They've chosen their side. And it isn't mine." Arya rose slowly, her hand brushing his arm. "What are you going to do?" "Whatever I must." His eyes met hers, dark, haunted, but unwavering. "You don't understand, Arya. You're not just part of this. You are this." "I didn't ask to be." "Neither did I," he said softly. "But fate doesn't ask for permission." He stepped closer, the scent of his wolf wrapping around her like heat. "I swore to protect you. That vow stands. Even if it costs you everything, especially then." For a long moment, neither spoke. The boy's laughter echoed faintly behind them, the sound of innocence in a world built on blood. Damien looked toward the horizon where the moon still lingered pale against daylight. "They'll come soon," he said. "When they do, stay behind me." She nodded, but her gut twisted with dread. She knew the truth now. This wasn't just his fight anymore. The Alpha had declared war, and the moon was listening.
The night fell like a blade, silent,
cold, deliberate. Aria sat by the fire in the library, a blanket around her shoulders and the silver bracelet gleaming faintly against her wrist. The storm had quieted, but something in the air felt wrong, too still, too heavy. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Damien had left hours ago for a meeting with the Pack Council, leaving guards stationed outside her door. Still, her chest tightened with unease. The fire cracked, shadows shifted, then a sound, faint, rhythmic, boots against marble. "Damien?" she called softly, rising to her feet. No answer. She moved toward the door, the flames flickering behind her. The knob turned before she touched it. The first man stepped through, his scent unfamiliar, sharp, metallic, wrong. He smiled, revealing wolfish eyes. "The Alpha sends his regards," he said. Before she could scream, a cloth pressed against her face, thick with a chemical smell. The world spun, colors melting into darkness. The last thing she saw before blacking out was the mark on her wrist flaring red, warning, desperate, alive. When she woke, the air was cold and damp. Her wrists were bound in silver cuffs, her body weak and trembling. The room was stone, underground, lit only by torches that hissed with blue fire. Across from her stood Lucien. Her heart stopped. "You," she whispered. He didn't look at her. "I told him this would happen," he said flatly. "I told him bringing you here would destroy everything." "Lucien, please, don't." His voice cracked like a whip. "You don't understand what you are. That mark isn't a blessing, it's a curse. It'll tear this pack apart." "I betrayed him," she said softly. "You betrayed your Alpha." He finally looked at her then, and there was pain behind his anger. "He stopped being my Alpha the moment he chose you over his people." "And what will they do to me?" she asked. He hesitated. "They'll drain your blood, break the bond before the next moon rise." Aria's heart pounded. "You don't have to do this." His expression faltered. "You think I want to?" His voice lowered. "You think I don't see what he sees in you? But loyalty means sacrifice." Meanwhile, miles away, Damien burst into the council hall, his eyes glowing, his aura a storm. "Where is she?" he thundered. The elders looked up from their seats in feigned surprise. "Alpha," one said, calmly, "control yourself." He slammed his hands on the table. "My beta is missing. My mate is gone. And you want me to be calm?" Gasps echoed. He'd said mate. The word carried power, finality. The elder leaned forward. "So it's true," she murmured. "You've claimed her." "I didn't claim her," he growled. "The moon did." "Then it's done," another said. "The prophecy is real." "You think I care about prophecy?" he shouted. "She's innocent." "Innocent?" the elder sneered. "The last Luna died because of her kind. The human bloodline brings ruin." "You're wrong," Damien said, voice trembling with fury. "She's the key to saving us." "No, Alpha," the elder said coldly. "She's the key to destroying you." And before he could react, the chamber doors sealed, a trap snapping shut. Back in the dungeon, Aria's heartbeat echoed in her ears. Lucien turned away, gripping the torch so tightly the wood cracked. "I told them I'd handle it. I thought maybe I could—" He stopped, shaking his head. "Could what?" she asked gently. "Save you?" He met her gaze. "Save him." Tears welled in her eyes. "Then do it." "He can't." "Yes, you can," she said. "If you really believe you're loyal, then protect what he loves." Lucien's hand trembled. "You don't understand how deep this goes." "Then explain it to me," she cried. "Why are you doing this?" He looked away. "Because the council owns me," he whispered. "They saved my sister years ago, and I swore my life in return." He lifted his hand, revealing a burn mark in the shape of a crescent moon, the mark of an oath-bound wolf. "If I disobey, she dies." The realization hit Aria like ice. He wasn't evil. He was trapped. "Then let me help you," she said. "We can both survive this." He hesitated, but the flicker of hope in her voice made his jaw tighten. "You shouldn't make promises you can't keep," he said softly, but his grip on the torch loosened. Up above, Damien broke through the council's defenses, claws tearing through stone and steel alike. "You think you can cage me?" he roared, his wolf form flashing through his human skin. The elder screamed as the alpha unleashed centuries of suppressed rage. When he finally reached the courtyard, the moon bled silver overhead, a sign, an omen. He shifted halfway, his body trembling from the strain, but his voice was clear. "Area!" He howled, the sound echoing across the valley. Down below she heard it, a cry that tore through walls and chains. Her mark flared, melting the silver cuffs around her wrists. She looked up, eyes glowing bright silver. Lucien stared in awe. "What are you?" he whispered. "The one the moon warned you about," she said, standing tall. Light rippled through the dungeon as her power erupted, shattering the walls and burning the bonds of his oath. When the dust cleared, Lucien fell to his knees, trembling. "He's coming," she whispered. Above them, Damien's shadow fell across the doorway, eyes blazing gold. "You took her from me," he growled. "Now you'll see what happens when the Alpha forgets mercy."
The dungeon walls trembled as Damien stormed inside, half shifted, eyes glowing like wildfire. The ground cracked beneath his steps, heat radiating from his body. "Lucien," he roared, "step away from her." Lucien raised his hands slowly, backing off as Arya stumbled forward, the silver chains melting around her feet. "Alpha, listen." "You betrayed me," Damien growled. "You lied to my face, fed my enemies, and touched what's mine." "I had no choice," Lucien cried. "They bound me." "Then you should have died bound," Damien thundered, his claws slicing the air. But before he could strike, Arya rushed between them, her voice breaking. "Stop! Please!" Her mark flared, silver light pulsing outward like a heartbeat. The power hit both men at once, freezing them mid-motion. Damien's claws retracted as his breathing slowed. Lucien fell to his knees, gasping for air. "Arya," Damien whispered, his voice softer now. "What are you doing?" "Saving you from yourself," she said, trembling. The light around her hands shifted from silver to white, bright enough to make the torches flicker. "You said the moon tests those it chooses, then let it test me." The mark on her wrist ignited, searing bright, and with it came visions. A woman with Damien's eyes stood beneath the crimson sky, whispering words in a forgotten tongue. Wolves knelt before her. The same pendant from the ruins glowed around her neck. "Celine," the voice echoed in Arya's mind. "You carry what I could not finish. Protect him. Heal him." Arya's body lifted slightly off the ground, her hair weightless, her eyes glowing silver. Damien watched in awe, unable to move, unable to breathe. "Arya," he said, voice breaking, "come back." She turned toward him, tears slipping down her cheeks, glowing, luminescent tears that fell like moonlight. "I remember now," she whispered. "I was there, Damien. The night your wife died. I tried to save her." His expression shattered. "No. She transferred it to me, her mark, her spirit, her last wish." Her hand glowed brighter. "She chose me for you." "Arya, stop," he begged. "You'll burn yourself." "Then let me burn," she said, her voice filled with resolution. "If it means saving you." The light burst outward, a blinding wave that cracked the stone walls. Lucien shielded his eyes as force like wind and thunder swirled around them. Damien reached for her, pulling her close as energy surged through them both. Their marks merged, gold and silver intertwining like flame and moonlight. The pain was unbearable, and yet it felt right. The air hummed with ancient power. The chains in the room shattered, dust rising like mist. Arya's heart synced with Damien's, their pulses beating as one.
the bond sealed with the sound like a heartbeat echoing through the earth. When the light dimmed, she fell limp in his arms, her body still glowing faintly. "Arya?" he whispered, brushing her cheek. No response. He felt for her pulse, weak, fading. Desperation clawed through him. "Don't do this," he said, voice breaking. "Don't you dare leave me now." The mark on her wrist flickered weakly, and he pressed his lips against it, whispering words older than language. "By moon, by blood, by bond, I give you mine." The moment his lips touched her skin, the air shifted. His golden aura spilled into hers, wrapping her body in threads of light. The bond deepened, no longer just power, but life itself. He felt his strength draining, his breath shortening, but he didn't stop. "Damien, you'll die," Lucian warned, but he ignored him. "Then let me," he muttered. "For her." His vision dimmed as the light engulfed them both. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Time, sound, even the moon itself seemed to hold its breath. Then a soft gasp. Arya's eyes opened, glowing brighter than before. "Damien?" she whispered weakly. He smiled faintly, blood on his lips. "You came back." "You shouldn't have done that," she said through tears. "You should have let me go." "I've already lost once. I won't lose again," he whispered. The light around them dimmed to a soft glow, the mark on both their wrists now identical, fused by fate. As dawn broke, they lay together amidst the ruins, the dungeon now open to the rising sun. Birds sang softly outside, a strange peace settling after chaos. Lucian stood at the entrance, silent, guilt etched deep in his face. "You should kill me," he said quietly. Damien looked at him, weary, but calm. "No," he said. "You'll help me instead." "Help you do what?" "End this war." Damien turned to Arya, who was slowly sitting up, light still faintly flickering under her skin. "We can't hide anymore," she said softly. "The council knows what I am. They'll come for us." He nodded. "Then we'll go to them first." She met his gaze, determination lighting her eyes. "Together?" "Always," he said, offering her hand. As she took it, the mark between them pulsed once, not in warning, but in promise. Far away, in the council's tower, the elders stared at the red moon fading into morning light. "It's begun," one whispered. "The Alpha has bound the Luna." And in that one act, the world began to change. For 3 days, Damien didn't sleep. His strength waned, but his aura grew darker, unstable. The bond that saved Arya now pulsed between them like a living thing, alive with both power and poison. When she closed her eyes, she could feel it, the echo of his heartbeat, the ache in his chest, the rage simmering beneath his calm. The moonlight didn't soothe him anymore. It provoked him. One evening, she found him alone in the training hall, shirtless, fists bloodied against the wall. "You're hurting yourself," she whispered. "Better me than someone else," he muttered. His back was slick with sweat, his muscles trembling from restraint. "It's spreading," he said quietly, eyes glinting gold. "Every time I feel the bond pull, the beast fights to take over." Arya stepped closer. "Then let me help you." He turned sharply. "You can't." His voice cracked, more wolf than man. "This is the curse. The Luna's bond doesn't just heal. It binds. My darkness feeds on it. On you." Her heart broke at the look in his eyes. Terror, guilt, and love all tangled together. "Then let it feed," she said softly, "if it means keeping you alive." Her words struck something deep inside him. "You don't understand. If I lose control, I won't know you. I'll destroy everything, everyone." "You won't,"
she said firmly. "I trust you." "Then you're a fool." "Maybe, but I'd rather die believing in you than live afraid of you." For a moment, the beast inside him hesitated, calmed by her courage. But the reprieve didn't last. The mark on his chest burned red, veins glowing faintly beneath his skin. He fell to one knee, clutching his heart. "Damien!" She knelt beside him, pressing her hand to his chest. The mark on her wrist flared to life, silver meeting crimson. Pain seared through them both, but she didn't move. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Look at me." His breathing grew ragged. "Aria, get away." "No!" The room filled with wind, paper scattering, light cracking like thunder. His body shifted violently, bones realigning, claws forming, his eyes turning pure gold. But even through the transformation, his gaze found hers. "Don't be afraid," he growled. "I'm not," she whispered. The shift completed in a single flash of light. The beast stood before her, towering, powerful, terrifyingly beautiful, black fur streaked with gold. His eyes still held Damien's soul, but wildness flickered beneath the surface. He took a step toward her, breath steaming in the cold air. "Damien," she said softly, voice trembling but steady. "It's me." The wolf growled, deep and guttural, the sound echoing off the walls. She didn't move. She reached out slowly, palm up. "You said I'm the Luna. Then let me be." The air shimmered, tension thick enough to choke on. The wolf hesitated, nostrils flaring as her scent reached him. Moonlight, warmth, home. He lowered his head, pressing his massive snout into her palm. The moment their skin met, the light returned, pure, blinding, beautiful. The beast shuddered, whimpering softly as the mark between them glowed through his fur. His breathing slowed. When the light faded, Damien knelt before her again, human, trembling, tears streaking down his face. "You called me back," he whispered. "No," I said gently, cupping his cheek. "You never left." But the bond came with the price. Every time she steadied him, she grew weaker. Her skin had turned pale, her pulse slower, her body fighting the strain of holding so much power. Lucien noticed first. "She's fading," he said one morning, voice grim. Damien looked at her sleeping form, fear tightening his chest. "The bond is killing her," Lucien said. "It's taking her strength to keep your beast contained." Damien's hand shook as he brushed her hair from her face. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Lucien said quietly. "Break the bond or she dies." Damien's throat tightened. "If I break it, she dies anyway. The moon tied us together." "Then the moon has doomed you both." The room fell silent, except for Aria's shallow breathing. Damien stood, turning toward the window. The sun was rising, painting the horizon in fire. "If the moon made this curse," he said, voice hardening, "then I'll make it answer." That night, Damien stood beneath the open sky, his hands stained with dirt and blood. Around him, the forest whispered ancient secrets. He raised his head to the moon, voice breaking into a snarl. "You take everything from me. First my Luna, now her. What more do you want?" The wind howled through the trees, carrying the faint whisper of Celine's voice. "The Alpha's strength is not in his power, but in his surrender." "Then take me. Take whatever's left." The ground trembled. The mark on his chest flared red, and the moon above shimmered blood red once more. Pain tore through him, but beneath it came clarity. He fell to his knees, whispering Aria's name. Back in the mansion, she gasped awake, clutching her wrist as the mark glowed like a heartbeat. She could feel him. The pain, the rage, the surrender. "Damien!" she breathed, tears falling. "What are you doing?" From the forest, a distant howl answered.
Low, broken, final. The moon had claimed its price.
The forest was burning silver. The trees swayed as if alive, the wind whispering ancient words in tongues older than the world. Arya ran barefoot through the glowing mist, her heart pounding in rhythm with the pulsing mark on her wrist. Every step she took felt heavier, slower, like the earth itself resisted her. "Damien!" she cried. "Please, answer me!" Her voice echoed through the woods, swallowed by shadows. In the clearing ahead, the light grew blinding. The blood moon hung low, bathing everything in its eerie glow. And there he was. Damien knelt in the center, shirt torn, hands pressed against the soil, golden light leaking from his skin. His body convulsed with pain, the beast inside him fighting for control. "Damien!" she screamed, falling to her knees beside him. He lifted his head slowly, his eyes, now half gold, half black, locking on hers. "You shouldn't have come," he rasped. "You're dying." She cupped his face with trembling hands. "Then we die together." He grabbed her wrists, shaking his head. "No, the moon won't stop until one of us breaks the bond." She stared at him, tears shining under the moonlight. "Break it? After everything? After she gave it to me?" "She gave it to curse me," he said bitterly. "Don't you see? The bond wasn't a gift. It was punishment. Celine's last act to bind my darkness." Arya shook her head fiercely. "No, Damien, she wanted you to be saved." "And what if I'm not worth saving?" he growled, his voice breaking. "What if I'm already gone?" "Then I'll find you, even in the dark." Her words silenced him. The beast inside him roared, and he doubled over, clutching his chest. "It's too late. If you stay, the curse takes you too." "Let it," she whispered. She wrapped her arms around him, holding on as light and shadow warred between them. "You said the moon tests those it chooses," she breathed. "Then this is my answer." Her mark flared again, silver bleeding into gold, intertwining until they glowed as one. The bond pulsed violently, light surging from their joined hands, cracking the air like thunder. The world began to unravel around them. Wind tore through the clearing. The trees bent low as the blood wound trembled above, its light flickering. Voices filled the air, ancient, echoing, crying out her name. "Arya, hail, the chosen Luna. Surrender your heart to balance the bond." She gasped, the power pulling at her chest. "It wants me," she whispered. Damien gripped her shoulders, desperation flooding his voice. "No, it can't have you." "It's the only way," she said softly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You gave me your life. Let me give it back." "Don't you dare," he shouted, shaking his head. "I won't survive without you." She smiled through her tears. "You will. That's what love means, Damien. It doesn't hold, it frees." The light around them grew brighter, her body glowing until she looked made of starlight. "Arya, please," he begged. "Don't go where I can't follow." She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "Then follow me here," she whispered, pressing his hand to her heart. "Always here." The explosion of light was silent, pure, infinite. The forest disappeared, replaced by endless white. Damien fell backward, blinded by the brilliance. When his vision returned, she was standing before him, not quite solid, her body shimmering like moonlight on water. "Arya," he breathed. She smiled faintly. "The bond is broken." "No," he said, shaking his head. "You can't." "I had to," she said softly. "The curse demanded balance. Now the alpha is free."
Then I don't want to be free, he said fiercely, reaching for her hand, but his fingers passed through her like mist. You will live, she whispered. You'll raise our son. You'll rebuild the pack. You'll make the world safe again. He shook his head, tears streaking down his face. I can't do it without you. You can, she said, her voice breaking. Because you're not the monster you think you are. You were never cursed, Damien. You were chosen. The wind stirred, her light fading. Don't say goodbye, he begged. She smiled one last time. Then don't listen. And with that, she was gone, dissolved into silver dust beneath the bleeding moon. For a long time, Damien couldn't move. The clearing was silent now, the moonlight soft and pale. He pressed his hand against his chest. The mark was gone. So was the rage. All that remained was the echo of her heartbeat within his. Aria, he whispered into the quiet. I'll find you. He looked up at the moon, no longer crimson, but white again, pure and whole. I promise, wherever you are, I'll find you. The wind carried her scent, faint, sweet, eternal. Somewhere beyond the stars, a whisper answered, I'll be waiting. He fell to his knees, clutching the earth, his tears soaking the soil she'd saved. Behind him, Lucian appeared with little Adrian in his arms, the child's eyes wide. Dad? The boy whispered. Damien turned, forcing a smile through his grief. Your mother, he said softly, saved us all. The boy looked up at the moon, and for a moment it shimmered, just enough for Damien to believe she was watching. The Alpha had survived the curse, but love had claimed its price.
10 years passed. Frosthelm Valley had changed. New buildings, new families, laughter where once there had been silence. But at the mansion on the hill, time moved slower. Damien Voss, the Alpha King who once ruled with fury, now ruled with calm. His hair had turned streaks of silver, his eyes softer but still sharp. The mark on his wrist, once a bond of Cain, had faded to a faint shimmer, a memory etched into his skin. Each night he stood on the balcony, watching the moon rise. It was no longer a curse to him, it was a reminder. Behind him, small footsteps approached. Dad? A young voice called. He turned, smiling faintly. Adrian, taller now, strong, with his mother's eyes. Couldn't sleep? Damien asked. The boy shook his head. I heard her again, he whispered. In my dream, Mom said the moon remembers. Damien's chest tightened. She's right. He knelt, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. The moon never forgets love that was real. The boy looked up. Do you think she's still watching? No, Damien said quietly, looking toward the glowing horizon. I know she is. The pack had grown peaceful again. Wolves no longer hid from the city. They worked beside humans, rebuilding what war had broken. Lucien, once the beta who betrayed him, now served as guardian of the valley, his loyalty redeemed through years of penance. And every full moon, the people gathered on the hill for the Lunar Vigil, where stories were told of the Waitress who saved an Alpha and the love that rewrote fate. Adrian often led the ceremony, his voice steady and full of pride. She wasn't born royal, but she carried the light of 1,000 queens. The crowd would bow their heads, and for a moment, silver light would streak across the sky, like moonlight bending down to listen. Some said it was myth. Others swore they felt her presence, soft and warm, like a whisper against their hearts. But Damien never doubted.
Every time the moonlight touched his face, he felt her hand, gentle, eternal. The curse that once bound them had become a promise that love could survive even death. One night, as the pack slept, Damien walked alone into the woods where it all began. The trees still remembered, scarred by fire, roots twisted in the shape of old magic. He stopped at the clearing, now overgrown with white lilies. "I kept my word," he whispered. The wind stirred the petals, silver dust glowing faintly in the moonlight. "The world is safe. Our sun is strong." He exhaled, closing his eyes, "But the nights are too quiet without you." A soft hum answered, low, melodic, familiar. He opened his eyes, and for a fleeting second, she was there, standing among the lilies, wearing the same simple dress she'd worn the day they met, her hair glowing like liquid light. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. He smiled sadly. "You kept your promise too." He stepped forward, but before he could reach her, she lifted her hand, placing it over her heart. Then she faded, her light drifting upward, merging with the moon. The whisper followed him as he fell to his knees. "Love doesn't end, Damien. It evolves." The next morning, the sun rose brighter than it had in years. The pack found their alpha kneeling among the lilies, peaceful, eyes closed, a faint smile on his lips. The mark on his wrist, once dull, now glowed again, silver and gold intertwined. The villagers carried him back in silence. At dusk, they buried him beside the hill, under the same tree where he'd once vowed to protect her. The moon rose early that night, larger than ever, flooding the valley with light. As the wolves howled in tribute, the wind carried their voices higher, until they seemed to blend with something divine. Adrian stood with Lucien beside the grave, holding the alpha's old pendant. "He's with her now," Lucien said softly. Adrian nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "Together," he whispered. The pendant in his hand shimmered faintly, the same light that once burned in his mother's mark. "The bond lives on, in you." Years later, legends would call it the night the moon remembered. The story of the alpha and the waitress would pass from wolf to human, generation to generation, not as a tragedy, but as proof that even the cursed can love, and even the broken can heal. On calm nights, when the wind was still and the moon full, those who stood on the hill swore they saw two figures dancing in the silver light, one cloaked in gold, the other in white, their laughter echoing faintly through the valley. Adrian grew into a wise alpha, leading with gentleness instead of fear. And when his daughter was born, she carried a small silver mark on her wrist, the same mark that began it all. He smiled through tears the first time he saw it, whispering, "The moon remembers." And high above, the moon glowed brighter, not as a watcher, but as a witness to love that refused to die. The alpha was at peace. The Luna was home. The prophecy fulfilled.
Thank you for staying till the end. Please do well to like and subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comment. It means a lot to me.